Oh, hi, everybody. Ezra Levant here. It's 12 noon at our world headquarters in Toronto. I am the Rebel Commander at Rebel News, and every day at 12 noon Eastern Time, we have a 1 hour live stream super chat, is what Google calls it, where we go over the news of the day. We're obviously focused on the pandemic, as most people are. And what makes it fun is that we get to hear from you. That's what a super chat is. You make that comment. And if you put a few bucks behind it, it puts it in a bright color. I see that out of the corner of my eye, and I read it and respond to it. And YouTube actually shares 70% of those funds with us, which is good news. If I miss it at the moment, our producer, Justin, sends me a note, and I get back and I read them all. So please do consider supporting us that way and being part of the conversation. What I do on these shows, when I host them Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sheila Gunn-Reid and David Menzies host them Tuesday, Thursday, is personally I go through things that I don't cover in my 8 p.m. Eastern Time daily show. Little trivial things that I see on Twitter. I used to be on TikTok, and boy, did I get a lot of good stuff there, but I just had to delete TikTok. Perhaps it was paranoia, but I truly believe that the app was messing with me. I don't want to describe in great detail, but things were happening with my phone, and I thought, what's going on? I thought, I'll delete TikTok, and wouldn't you know, the problem went away. And I know that sounds a little bit paranoid and conspiratorial, but I think there's a reason why the U.S. Department of Defense has instructed all of its own military members not to have TikTok on their phone. I could be wrong. I think it was a gorgeous weekend across the whole country of Canada and probably around the Western world. I mean, it's almost June. We're almost in summer. And yet people who were cooped up for 2 months when we were told it would be a 2-week bend the curve. Remember that? 2 weeks, bend the curve, 2 weeks. Well, it's been 2 months and people are cooped up. And some people have nice backyards, some people have huge houses. It's quite something when these celebrities in Hollywood do a video production from their massive mansions and they lament it. But a lot of people can't afford houses, or at the stage in life before they have a house. I mean, it's sort of normal for someone to rent an apartment before they get married, have kids, buy a house. So you have great swaths of people, especially in the cities, who have been basically locked in their house, their little apartment, no park, maybe they have a small balcony, maybe not, and the human contact has really declined to Zoom or Skype chats and a few fleeting seconds with the food delivery driver. So 2 months of a fake lockdown for a pandemic that never really materialized outside of seniors' homes, and 2 months of watching politicians break their own rules. I'm going to call for Dominic Cummings, the swarming of Cummings, at his house. He's a British political aide to Boris Johnson who made a trip to his father's farmhouse, and oh my God, the media went nuts. I'm sure you can find a ton of clips for that. So 2 months of watching Justin Trudeau, Doug Ford, John Tory, those are just some Ontario political leaders, but political leaders across the country not follow their own rules. And I think people said, you know what, I'm done. The weather was so nice across Canada, and in Toronto, where there are so many high-rises all jammed downtown together, there's this lovely park. Can you go to Google and just give me some, if you go to Google and type in Trinity Bellwoods, on the top right corner you get the map, and then you get a bunch of sort of user-submitted photos of Trinity Bellwoods. Can you show some of those? It's such a pretty park. It has sort of an old-timey grandeur to it. There's like a great massive gate to it. It's beautifully thought out. There's this big circle there. There's sports. There's, I think, the volleyball, and there's tennis, and there's a field. It's such a look at that gates. Isn't that a dramatic entry? You just start clicking through some of them photos on the Google if you just go to Google and click on Trinity Bellwoods and just go through it, I just want to show people how nice this park is. And I haven't been there in a little while. But you can't, so just look at some of these. You know, you know what I mean by just go to Google and just type in Trinity Bellwoods Park, and then it pops up in the right corner, and then you can click on it, and you have all these sort of curated user submit. Like those were just sort of generic Google images, but I want to walk people through the park. It's a great dog walking park. Yeah, this is exactly right. So look at those gorgeous trees. Yeah, at night. Look at that. Those are the houses, bikes, people wandering around. It's a real social place. Thanks. This is exactly the page I wanted. Thank you. And just keep scrolling through these. It's a social park. It's not just a park that you just walk through quickly. You have a picnic there. You hang out there. You meet people. It's such a gathering spot. I think it's one of the nicest parts of Toronto. And certainly if you're cooped up, beautiful. I mean, what are those called? Cherry blossoms? You know, I know it's incredible to believe, but Mayor John Tory put up fences around the cherry blossoms because he didn't want people to get too close to them. Apparently, there's some crazy, but anyway, it's such a nice park. So on the weekend, the weather was so good, I read reports that 8,000, 10,000 people went to the park, just brought a blanket, brought a picnic, maybe brought some beers, brought a Frisbee to throw. Yeah, look at that. How much fun is that? And people just having a good time. And you know what? Just hold this picture up there for a second. Can you find me a single cell phone? Like normally you show people in 2020 and everyone's staring at their phones. I can't even see a phone in this picture. Do you have another picture we can take a glance at? People are actually talking with each other. Because you know what? I think people have sort of had enough of looking at their screen for 2 months straight and only having a virtual encounter with other people. So these were, and they're young people, maybe late teens, but it looks more like people in their 20s. People who have moved out from mom and dad's house, living in an apartment or condo downtown, entry-level work, trying to make ends meet, trying to be in the big city. Look at that. Like, doesn't that look gorgeous? It's just a nice, it's just a nice park. Just a nice park. And were they social distancing? No, they were not. Were they wearing face masks? No, they were not. Were they in panic mode? No, they were not. Now, are these dumb people? No, they're not dumb. I'd say they're probably smart. You know, certainly savvy, woke. Have they not heard of the pandemic? Look at that hipster gal right at the bottom with that fancy hat going on. And does that not look like a fun place to be? That looks like a very fun place to be. Get some sun, get some vitamin D, get some UV rays, which, by the way, was a treatment for the flu bug 100 years ago. So, what was the reaction from the fancy people? Because these young people are, I'll call them woke hipsters. If you're downtown Toronto and you're in your 20s, you are voting Liberal or NDP or Green. But this wasn't even a political thing. This was just people saying, I'm going out in the sun and you can't arrest all of us. And the Toronto Sun, very uncharacteristically, had this cover photo. TO, Toronto, Ontario's COVIDiots. Clueless, ignore warnings. Pack Trinity Bellwoods. You know, you can name call your readers, and again, odds are no one in this picture actually buys a paper newspaper, which is more of a boomer and maybe a Gen X thing, but it's not a millennial or a Generation Z thing, that's for sure. Calling people in your town, calling your readers idiots and clueless, I don't think that's right. I don't think they are idiots. And I don't think they're clueless. I don't think they missed the memo. I think they got the memo and made the conscious decision not to follow it because they've been following it for 2 months and the memo kept changing. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Stop the border, don't stop the border, don't stop the border. Social distancing, but not if it's the mayor. Like, just, I think people are sick of it, and they realize that, thank God, really no young people get this virus. And even no old people do, unless you happen to be in a government-regulated seniors home, which is the deadliest place to be. So, John Tory, I don't want to call him the worst mayor in Canada, because I can immediately think of other mayors that would be a contender for that title. So John Tory goes down to this park to scold people. That's what he does best. And that's John Tory there. And you can see it a little bit better in the picture on the left. And I don't know if you can go to my Twitter feed, because I had, my own Twitter feed, I had a straight-on picture of the mayor. You can see he's wearing something under his chin. There's something on around his ears, and he's wearing it under the bottom of his neck. On my own Twitter feed, I have a juxtaposition of a straight-on high-res photo of John Tory. Is he 6 feet or 2 meters away from these people? No, he is not. Is he wearing a mask? Yeah, but not over his mouth and nose. He's wearing it under his chin. Yeah, so I write, Mayor John Tory literally removes his mask to talk to a cluster of citizens. No police charges. In the same park the very next day, a lone sunbather is accosted by 2 of Tory's police and fined. Click on that photo on the left, just because it's higher res. So there he is standing right next to people, hectoring, scolding, lecturing. They're not even listening to him. Look at that one. Can you zoom in on that photo even more? That one guy with the tats. Do you think he's talking to some chick? He's talking to some girl. It's the first time he's been out and about. And there's, this is like a dating scene. This is like Tinder, but in real life. These are young men and women enjoying spring, having a drink, making friends. And you got this old man who, if you saw an old man doddering around the park who didn't quite know how to put on his mask, you'd feel, where's his nurse? Where's his grandkids to come pick him up? That's not how you wear a mask, buddy. But look at the second picture I have there. So no one listened to him. So the next day they had 150 cops or whatever, and look at that, a lone sunbather they gave a ticket to. Now, who was the actual threat? The answer is neither was the threat. Neither John Tory nor that lone sunbather were a threat. But who got the ticket? Did John Tory get the ticket? Why? Why didn't he? He put out an apology yesterday, which is so lame. Here, take a look at this apology. What? I want to apologize for my personal behavior yesterday. I visited Trinity Bellwoods Park to try to determine why things were the way they were. Huh? I fully intended to properly physically distance, but it was very difficult to do. I wore a mask into the park, but I failed to use it properly. Another thing I'm disappointed about. I'm so disappointed. These were mistakes that I made, and as a leader in this city, I know that I must set a better example going forward. Well, actually, no. You were fine, John. You would have actually been laughed at roundly had you walked around with that mask on or tried to push people 6 feet away, because everyone would have said, "Are you mad?" I don't think it was a disappointment. I think he just felt the peer pressure of being amongst normal people for the first time instead of around his power-mad public health officials. You know what? Let me catch up on the super chats because it's 12:14 and I see a few have come by. So let me jump in there. Mike Mayer, $5. Let me know how much money you need to stop David from wearing that stupid hat. Well, I think he wears the hat. Well, he likes to dress up a little bit. But can we get a picture of David's hat? Just any viz of any B-roll or anything. He wears that hat, I think, because he needs a haircut so badly. And he just sort of wants to cover up how it looks. And I don't blame him. I mean, look at this thing. I mean, people say, Ezra, you can't get a barber, but you can still find a comb. They haven't banned combs during the pandemic or hair gel or something. I'm just, I just don't have any of those basic skills. Yeah, I think David is turning necessity into an opportunity to wear a hat. It's a little odd. Look at that! Look at that hat! But that's sort of old-timey. Like, he just needs a little piece of paper that says, press, I'm with the Daily Bugle. I think he's fine. I think he's doing a great job, by the way. Mamadop, $10. Hello, Ezra. I just want to wish you all at Rebel News a great day and keep up the good work. Well, thank you very much. That's awfully nice of you to say. I think David was out this weekend covering the Let Us Work protest at Queen's Park again, and we should have that video up later today. But, I love Canada, I love Canadians, and we're polite and friendly and all those things, or at least we tell ourselves that. But I do admire the fighting spirit of Americans. They don't wait around for someone to give them their rights that they know they hold, God-given. They go out and they exercise their rights. And I saw this little video clip. I mean, we're just talking about barbers and the need for hairdos or hair don'ts. And I want to show you this. I'm not sure exactly where this is. I just saw this on Twitter. Some lady, I don't know if she's professional or amateur, giving a haircut. It's a little bit of an overstatement. She's just got clippers on a guy who, frankly, is pretty bald to begin with. So there's a few asterisks there. But she's doing it while the cops are arresting her or giving her a ticket or something. And I just thought, ain't that America? Here, take a look.
The economy of this country, the state of Michigan, is going to go down because of this. You guys need to get straight. Get your priorities in line. Not with the governor. I know you work for her. The point is you need to look at it and say, hey, go to your chief and say, hey, just put me on traffic duty today, so you don't have to deal with good citizens of America. We are citizens of this state, and we are held to a higher responsibility to defend the Constitution of this state and of America.
There's so many great things about that. First of all, that looks like a lot of fun. Second of all, they're out in the sun. They're at the legislature or someplace. I'm not sure exactly where they are. They look like they're having a whale of a time. He has a little bit of hair around the sides and the back, but he's pretty bald. I like that he's wearing that American flag as a smock there, or maybe it's just a scarf. I'm not sure if she's a pro. She's handling that clippers pretty well, and it's a serious pair of clippers. I don't know what it's plugged into, if it's plugged into anything at all. I don't think he has any hair up there. And he's just giving her. He's just riffing, and I see a TV microphone in the mix, and I see some other independent photographer maybe with the mask on. That's just a great, great video. And I regret the fact that we don't have such troublemakers, friendly troublemakers, peaceful troublemakers as that in Canada. Another super chat from Aniko, $5. Looking at this current crop of conservatives make me miss Rob Ford now more than ever. Well, I agree with you on that. All right, well, I covered the haircut stuff and the Trinity Bellwoods. That is a nice park. You know, there's a ton of parks in Toronto, and you can't stop people from going to them. Can I show you one more thing? It's a quarrel I got into with Erica Ehm. Can you call me up some B-roll or some sound on tape of Erica Ehm back in the 90s? Erica Ehm, does that name ring a bell? I think you have to be a certain vintage to have heard of her. She was an early VJ, or video jockey, on Much Music. In the heyday of that TV station, it was sort of the MTV of Canada. And there she was, always sort of a little bit quirky and a little bit, I don't know if hip is the right word, but she wore hats and berets, and she was a super groupie of any band that came through, and I sort of liked her. I mean, she was a little too artsy for my, and that's Monica Deol there, totally different person. But Erica Ehm, so apparently she went off the air in 1996, 24 years ago. So if you are under the age of 35, you've never heard of this lady. She's 58 now. And out of the blue, can you find her tweet? It was in reaction. So I was, actually, let's back it up for a second. Can you find my tweet to Davila? So click on Dr. Elaine. Yeah, I understand that the photos of people in Trinity Bellwoods were disappointing today. It was a beautiful day and we all want to enjoy our city together, but this could be selfish and dangerous behavior that could set us back. See, the word selfish is apparently a medical diagnosis. You know, Dr. Eileen Davila makes $300 grand a year being a public health doctor for Toronto. Nice work if you can get it. So I wrote, bounty. I'll pay you $2,500 cash for photos of or videos of Cruella de Villa breaking her own pandemic guidelines, like Doug Ford at the cottage and Trudeau visiting his family over Easter. You don't actually believe that she follows her own rules, do you? So this is me clapping back at Cruella de Villa. And Erica Ehm, can you click on her photo? She's looking great for someone who's just shy of 60. I can't believe it. I mean, she looks great for 58. Would you agree, Justin? Like 58. It's that rock and roll lifestyle. Anyways, so out of the blue, I have not seen or heard of Erica Ehm since the 90s. I mean, the 1990s. And she writes, she's very disappointed in me. Do you really need attention this badly, she says, writing to me. Please act like a responsible adult and stop with the games and name calling. It's so easy to disparage and bully safely from the sidelines, especially women. They're always an easier target. Okay, scroll back up to my statement there. So I list 3 people, Doug Ford, Trudeau, and Davila. And I'm sort of mean to all 3 of them, and I'm critical of them, and they're all public officials, all of whom I pay for. And the response to this is stop bullying people and stop being sexist. I criticize 3 people, 2 are men. And I'm not bullying them. I'm saying for them to stop bullying us. These are kids in a park. So I write back to Erica Ehm. I don't know if you can follow the thread of the comment. You know what bugs me here is for her to call me a bully who's being sexist. So I clap back. I don't know. It's not that interesting, but I pointed out something that irks me here. So I said, "What a blast from the past! I can't believe it's been 26 years since you were on Much Music. I'm glad to see you're still alive and kicking." That's a little bit passive-aggressive, let's be honest. I criticized 3 political bullies, 2 men, 1 woman. It's condescending to Davila for you to blame sexism rather than incompetence. Exactly. If you're a real booster for women in politics, do yourself and your cause a favor. And anytime someone criticizes your political hero, as every politician is criticized, don't immediately say, you can't do that because of sexism. Yeah, you're not going to win people over by saying, I'm a woman politician, and the difference that makes is you can't criticize me, because if you do, you're a sexist. That demeans real sexism, and it demeans Davila. It suggests that she can't handle any criticism, and all she is a sexual token. Let me show what Erica Ehm said in reply. So she took my passive-aggressive comments about how old she was very well. She said, yeah, still standing. Let me rephrase. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good. She had a friendly reply. Let me rephrase. Okay, good. So you're not going to call me a bully anymore, are you? Please don't be a bully on social media. What are you talking about? I'm not the one threatening people with fines. The opposite. I'm, number one, offering to give people a free lawyer if they're fined. And number two, I want to show, and maybe Erica Ehm knows something more than she's letting on, that Davila, just like Doug Ford and Justin Trudeau, they break their own rules. How's that being a bully? Please don't be a bully on social media, especially to public servants working hard with no roadmap. Everyone is doing what they can to find a way out. Rather than criticize, find positive solutions. All right. Don't call me a bully again, because again, you're undermining real bullying. It is not bullying to call out politicians who break their own rules. Let me go one more round of my banter with Erica Ehm. You can't say that criticizing public personalities in the public square, using public money, publicly shaming those kids at the park and offering to sick police on them, you can't say that criticizing them, whether it's for political consistency, just the dumbness of their idea, or for civil liberties, you can't just call that bullying. Or if you do, it shows, first of all, you don't have a real concern about it, and number two, you don't really mean anything you say about bullying and sexism, because those are just terms you throw around when you disagree with someone. I think that does a lot of harm to both the bullying and the sexism cause. So twice now she's called me a bully. And I'm not going to say that I was a big fan of Erica Ehm. She was a little too artsy and a little too much of a fangirl for me. But I wrote back a little clearer. I said, I'm not a bully. Davila is a bully, scolding and threatening to find working class people who've been cooped up in tiny apartments and don't have fancy lake cottages like Trudeau or Ford, or $1,000 a night Muskoka family getaways. And what's on that link? Oh boy, what's in that link? Well, there's Erica Ehm, Cleveland's House family vacation. Erica Ehm talking about her family, scroll down, talking about her family vacation at a Muskoka getaway, $1,000 a night plus. Must be nice. Hey, you Trinity Bellwoods kids, making modest living but paying the highest rent in the country, locked up for 2 months in your apartment. Why don't you just be like Erica Ehm? Why don't you just go up to Muskoka for the weekend? It's only $1,000 a night. Stay at this gorgeous lake. It's sort of like summer camp for families. Come on, guys. Erica Ehm says so. If she can do it, you can do it too. What's that? You don't have $3,000 to spend for a weekend getaway at Muskoka Lake like Erica? What's wrong with you? What, are you poor or something? So, and that's the thing, is that I don't know Erica Ehm at all, and I was genuinely surprised to hear from her out of the blue after a quarter of a century. And she's looking great. But she has a charmed life. I don't know her financial situation, but if she's going to Cleveland's House in Muskoka, she's got some do-re-mi. And I'm not really interested in her concern troll. Oh boy, you're just a snob. You're just a snob. You got your cottage getaway, you got your $1,000 a night summer camp for grown-ups, and some kids who there is zero chance they're going to get the virus. The virus is not spread through casual outdoor contact. No one under 20 in Canada at all has even died from this thing, not one. You have a better chance a worse chance or whatever, a more likely chance of being killed by hitting a moose. 30 to 40 people a year die from running into moose and other wild animals on our highways. But Erica Ehm wants to virtue signal in some way. Let me just see, am I missing any of the super chats there, Justin? Let me take a look, see. Claritza Rodriguez, $2. Jesus is coming soon. Well, can't come soon enough for me, I tell you. I think we're all ready. All right. There's just one more pandemic clip I want to show you, and this is from our friends at Post Millennial. They were at the Queen's Park protest too, and I haven't watched this, but I just saw it tweeted, so let's take a look at it together. This is a protester giving his thoughts on Trudeau's CBC state broadcaster.
What are you doing here? Yeah? You're not really welcome. CBC has basically destroyed this country. Right? Do you have any idea? Mr. Dress Up? What kind of a comment is that? Honestly, you're a disgrace and you are destroying this country. It's on you. You're there collecting your freaking paycheck, telling lies to the rest of the world. Not asking the hard questions. What's wrong with you? What happened?
Huh. I couldn't make out every word there, but I just like the fact that I'm not the only one who immediately identifies the CBC as a cause of so much disharmony and disinformation in this country. I don't know what flag he was holding there. Didn't quite recognize it, but I like the fact that the CBC is getting an earful from the people. All right, now I want to show you a US video on, obviously, Joe Biden. He's just a never-ending fountain of things. Let's take a look. I don't even know which one this is. Let's take a look.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. Take a look at my record, man.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others.
He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement and kept telling the story anyway.
I come out of the civil rights movement. I was one of those guys that sat in and marched and all that stuff.
Now, his aides went back to say, look, he was in office marching for the idea.
That's not the word marching means on Twitter.
I was not out marching.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
And you ain't black.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
You ain't black. You ain't black. You ain't black. You ain't black.
The most racist thing a person could tell me is that I'm supposed to choose something based on my race.
You ain't black.
Oh, that is a killer ad. Especially that last part where he says, you ain't black, and then he goes back and he smiles. Oh, that is killer. That is killer. Very powerful. Thanks. I just hear in my ear. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about Dominic Cummings. I've never met him. I don't know much about him, but he is apparently a influential advisor in Boris Johnson's circles. Boris Johnson, of course, is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And Cummings is a little bit unusual. He dresses unusually. He makes funny faces. He's a little quirky, and boy, do those social quirks irritate the British press. They don't like, I mean, look, Boris Johnson himself is quite quirky, but his quirks are charming and endearing. If you can call up the Boris Johnson painting milk cartons thing, that's just the perfect example. You know Boris Johnson, he's got that shock of platinum blonde hair that is always messy. Always. Like the second after he combs it, it's messy. He's funny, he's audacious, he's goofy. This is my favorite Boris Johnson interview of all time. Take a look.
What do you do to switch off?
I like to paint, or I make things. I like to...
What do you make?
I have a thing where I make models of... when I was in Mayor of London, we built a beautiful... I make buses.
You make models of buses?
I make models of buses.
So they're going to be in Downing Street?
So what I do... No, what I don't make models of buses, but what I make is... I get old, I don't know, wooden crates.
Yeah.
Right? And then I paint them. And they have two suppose it's a box that's been used to contain two wine bottles, right?
Right.
And it will have a dividing thing.
Yeah.
And I turn it into a bus, and I put passengers. You really want to know this?
You're making buses. You're making cardboard buses. That's what you do to enjoy yourself.
I paint the passengers enjoying themselves.
Okay, great.
On the wonderful bus.
Great.
A word of that is true. Do you think he's just having them on, as the Brits say? Do you think he's just taking the piss?
If you manage a team, you should.
Do you think he's just joking around? Do you think he really does that? I don't know, but it was funny and quirky and lovable. Now, I know there's people who hate him deeply, but he's got a lovable nature to him. How different it is with Dominic Cummings, who I don't think anyone would describe him as lovable. They would perhaps, I mean, he's not smiley, he's not good-humored. So he is like the liver in the body of the Conservative Party. That's where all the bad toxins go. And so, in this era of social distancing, and the UK is worse than Canada and far worse than America. So Dominic Cummings apparently drove for hours to go to his dad's farmyard where there was like an isolated place. And I don't have any problem with that. How's that not better than getting out of London? And I just want to show you the incredible media mob. And I don't know what clip you have, but I presume it's when he was getting out of his Range Rover there. So someone had spotted him on the road to Durham or something, and spotted him getting gas and spotted him up there. And they've got a real snitch culture over there now, a real informant culture that we're starting to get here too. And so this has just gotten bigger and bigger, and it's turned into a mania. And I don't know if you've got this clip, but they went to his home, and then I'll ask you for the one of, they actually rolled a Jumbotron truck outside his home too, if you can find that. But let's just take a look. I don't know what you have. Let's take a look. All right, looks like there's no audio. So so that's his house, but there's others there of, like this is mobbing him. They're mobbing him at his house, saying, why aren't you social distancing? They're all within inches of him, inches of each other. They're not wearing masks. Yeah, that's his range. Look at that. That's outside his home. I think that's a repeat now, right? Can you find one where there's sound up and it's one of those cameras there? Because it's just incredible. And today it spilled over. It was just too much. So Dominic Cummings had to clear the air press conference that was a little bit touching. But I just want you to get a feeling for the madness here. So this is a guy who went for a drive to a country place. But because he is the spokesman for Boris Johnson, and not even really the spokesman, he's the advisor, he's not a press secretary, he doesn't have any of that charm. The mania. Oh yeah, so someone, I don't know who, got a Jumbotron truck. Hey, that's my move. Parked it right outside his house.
2 weeks in hell, basically, trying to look after myself and my daughter.
If anyone is thinking, taking any chances, just take a look at me. I'm in the intensive care unit. I can't breathe without this.
Yeah, so very, very sad. You know what, I won't take it. There was a clip that was right in the action there that just showed how close the media was. And it's trending literally right now. Oh, yeah, this is an example. Like, look at that.
People out there will understand that too. And I think that's the critical issue here, is that the Prime Minister believes that it's okay to defend Mr. Cummings, that the public will understand it. And the big question is, will the public understand it, or will they think that there's one rule for the Prime Minister's chief advisor and there's another rule for all of them? He was trying to...
Now, they were inches away from, like, if he almost stepped on them, but you see there for social distancing. Now, can you find a little clip of him and his press conference today where he lays out how sad he is and how mean everybody is to him? And I want to say, part of me is sympathetic to him because I lean conservative anyways, and I can see the media hatred, and they're targeting him at his home, getting in his grill, but nothing that I actually wouldn't call just rambunctious journalism. And I don't know if you overheard the media commentator there in that last clip. it's about one rule for thee and one rule for me. That's the problem here. So although I don't know Dominic Cummings, I don't really know him well at all, though I've never met him. Although I'm sympathetic somewhat to Boris Johnson, although less every week. And I understand why people, conservative political activists, are rallying to Dominic Cummings' aid. I'm on the other side of this because he's just doing what they're all doing. In fact, can you, let's show a clip of Cummings, and can you get the Irish Taoiseach, I think it's pronounced, Leo Varadkar, just Ireland Varadkar, because their leader was at some big bash breaking the rules too. Everyone, all the fancy people do. So let's play a clip of Cummings, and then I can find you that Leo Varadkar thing if you need help. Take a look.
Sorry I'm late. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. Yesterday I gave a full account to the Prime Minister of my actions between the 27th of March and the 14th of April, what I thought and did. And he's asked me to repeat that account directly to you. I know that millions of people in this country have been suffering. Thousands have died. Many are angry about what they've seen in the media about my actions. I want to clear up the confusions and misunderstandings that I can. In retrospect, I should have made this statement earlier. It's many years since I've said anything on television, but I will do my best to answer questions after I've explained what happened. I also should clarify that I'm not here to speak on behalf of the government or the Prime Minister. I'm explaining my own actions and my own thinking. The Prime Minister is giving a press conference later, and he will answer questions concerning government policy. Around midnight on Thursday the 26th of March, I spoke to the Prime Minister. He told me that he tested positive for COVID. We discussed the national emergency, arrangements for number 10 given his isolation, and what I would do in number 10 the next day. The next morning I went to work as usual. I was in a succession of meetings about this emergency. I suddenly got a call from my wife, who was at home looking after our 4-year-old child. She told me...
All right, it goes on and it talks about his wife and his kids and illness and going away and everything. And I can see the reaction online that conservatives say it was great and everyone else is mocking it, but I don't have any sympathy because every legitimate and compelling and persuasive excuse that he offers up, so what? Same for me. Same for Joe Average. Same for, every regular bloke. And so while I accept his explanation and his excuseology for what he did, I also accept it for everybody else that he is governing. Just like I think John Tory was an ass going down there, and I think that mask underneath his chin was hilarious and weird and sort of a Joe Biden moment kind of thing. He didn't get a ticket, so why should that sunbather the next day? And it's not that what he did was scientifically or medically risky. Of course it wasn't. And neither is what everyone else wants to do or is doing. I just sent you by WhatsApp Leo Varadkar, who's the, I don't know how you pronounce it, the boss of how do you say Prime Minister in Irish, Taoiseach or something. So he's out there in public, in a park, having fun, in the sunshine, and he's not social distancing either. Why would he? He, in his heart of heart, knows it's BS. Or at least it's for other people to do, and he's exempt somehow. And I think everyone was sort of in this spell. Oh my God, the pandemic's going to kill us. Yeah. So an unelected Taoiseach, I think that's how you say, and squatting lord of Farnley, Leo Varadkar, frolicking around with his boys in the Phoenix Park like he owned that too. Where did you go wrong, Ireland? So that's just a gift there. I don't have a beef with him being out in the sun. That looks like a really nice afternoon. But he has a beef with everybody else being out in the sun. I don't have a beef with Doug Ford going to his cottage. I wish I had a cottage too. I have Yeah, so this is a proof they were only 2 inches apart. Of course, the joke was they were measuring how tall they were and how it's just like people were. It's mockery. And the thing is, when everyone's in it together, there's a feeling of solidarity and common purpose, and you can deprive yourself if you know the entire community is doing so, and what you're doing is part of something larger and more important. And we were all told and sold that we had to flatten the curve. We were all told this, and you do be really strict with yourself for 2 weeks. Don't go to work, don't go to school, shut down your life, stay locked up at home. We do this for 2 weeks, we'll get through it. Then 2 weeks has turned into 2 months. I don't know how that happened. And we flattened the curve, but we're still in lockdown. I don't know how that happened. But fine, okay. We're in uncharted territory, as Erica Ehm told me. Okay. So why is it then that Justin Trudeau, Rob Ford, Leo Varadkar, Dominic Cummings don't have to follow the rules? The Health Minister of New Zealand, the Health Officer of Scotland. I'm just naming a few names. And the thing is, you have such goodwill from the ruled, from the citizens, that's punctured like a popped balloon when they see the fancy class breaking the rules. I don't think anyone actually believed, for example, that Al Gore or Leonardo DiCaprio truly believes in global warming. We see them on their yachts all the time. We see them on their private jets all the time. No one really takes them seriously. But this pandemic, we were taking leaders seriously because we were all sort of scared or told to be scared. And then it's like discovering that the whole time it was just a big joke. So if Dominic Cummings can go up to the farm and Leo Varadkar can go to the park and John Tory can go to the park and take off his mask and Doug Ford can go to the cottage and Justin Trudeau can cross provincial lines to go to his summer home and mix households. Why am I stuck in my house? Why am I banned from working? Why is my rights infringed? Why am I getting fined? That's the problem with Dominic Cummings. Not that what he did was wrong. Of course it wasn't wrong. But he said it was wrong and he was enforcing that on the rest of us. That's why. Leo Varadkar, Phoenix Park. That's exactly it. Zona, okay, we got a few here. Zona Rosa Smith, as usual, you and the Rebel team are a godsend. Well, thank you very much. Northern Populace, $5. Pandemic porn peddlers are trying to keep us all scared. Yeah, I think so. Susan Dauber, $10. Thank goodness for your source of truth. Well, that's very nice. Michigan 12, $2. Thank you. Michigan is certainly, the governor there seems hell-bent on just being as hardline as possible. Okay, let me, Proud Boys Calgary, $5. We elect representatives. We aren't subjects to be dictated to. This is the West, not Communist China, or DR Sino Comunista Partium delenda est. That means the Chinese Communist Party must be destroyed. I agree. You know, someone last night sent me J.J. McCullough's video on the Falun Gong. Can you call that up? J.J. McCullough, one of my favorite guys, real contrarian, colorful character, wonderful to look at. He's got that hairstyle. And he has this affectation, which I just love. He says, a boot, the hoose, like he just takes that Canadianism and he cranks it to 11. I say, yeah, so there's JJ, one of my favorite guys. So he did this video called This Chinese Cult Is Not Your Friend. And it's only a couple weeks old and he's got a lot of views on it. Why don't we put the sound up just for a moment and I'll give some thoughts on JJ.
Enormous amount of contempt for the Chinese government. It is clearly a cruel dictatorship that I believe to be a force for bad in the world. China's leaders have a ton to answer for in terms of their handling of the coronavirus pandemic, their oppression of Hong Kong, their support of rogue regimes around the world, and the systemic suppression of the rights of their own people. I think that probably the best thing that Donald Trump has done as president, And the thing that America's allies should be the most supportive of are his efforts, however imperfect and bumbling, to contest the growth of China's...
Great. I wish he would come and work with us here at the Rebel. Now he's starting with the of course China's bad, of course China, of course, and then for the next 10 minutes he bashes the Falun Gong. Could you skip ahead just any random point? Just skip ahead 5 minutes and just pick it up where he starts to bash the Falun Gong. Take a look.
States and bring salvation to sentient beings.
Properly harnessing this energy, in turn, requires doing a lot of repetitive, mind-numbing meditation exercises, as spelled out in the Master's various books and videos and multi-day seminars. But it's all worth it, because Master Lee says that those who prove their allegiance to Falun Dafa will eventually achieve superhuman levels of happiness, success, and health, just like him, the greatest man who has ever lived. Though it started in China, Master Lee's outfit is currently based in this gigantic 400-acre compound in the scenic Catskills of New York. Here the Master lives with his most devoted followers, who tend to his every whim and venerate him as a divine being.
When Li Hongzhi would speak...
Anyways, someone sent me that and said, Ezra, why are you supporting the Epoch Times and the Falun Gong? Have you seen this video by JJ? And it was it was so well done. He's so good at his craft. I watched it, and I'm turning this into a sort of a reaction video. We should invite JJ on to banter about it. But okay, so Falun Gong is a kind of religion. JJ called it a cult. You could call it a denomination or a sect. I really don't care what you call it. It's a belief system. And JJ talks about how some of it's weird. Well, I put it to you that if you didn't know anything about Christianity and you learned about the Catholic Mass and the idea of transubstantiation and wine in the wafer and the blood in the body of Jesus, if you learned what that was, you would think that's crazy. Or many things in Judaism or Islam or Sikhism. I mean, that's the thing about religions, is that they have a supernatural element to them that looks kooky to someone from the outside. The fact that they venerate their leader is, I mean, yeah, it's a 400-acre place in the Catskills. Have you been to the Vatican, mate? Sorry, I watched JJ's piece on the Falun Gong, and it's basically, okay, so this sect believes in things that are unusual to us. And I just kept waiting for the shoe to drop, and I couldn't find it. I think JJ brushes over how brutally the communists have persecuted the Falun Gong, including actually harvesting human organs from Falun Gong prisoners. And I tell you that because of that super chat we just saw about the Communist Party must be destroyed. I think JJ did his anti-Falun Gong video, which is the best I've seen, because JJ's just so delightful. But it's completely unpersuasive nonetheless, because other than saying, well, they have weird beliefs, and actually there's no and. JJ couldn't dispute the fact that they were persecuted. He minimizes it. In fact, most of his condemnation is, he argues by analogy, well, that the Moonies, Sun Myung Moon, was a bad dude. Well, that's not the same thing. If your strongest point is, well, there was another Chinese sect called the Moonies, and Reverend Sun Myung Moon was a bad dude, then if that's your punchline, then maybe you're not mad at the Falun Gong at all. I think that JJ did that video just to be contrarian, because he sees how effective the Epoch Times is, how Shen Yun is. Can you grab me some Shen Yun B-roll? And I don't know, I only mentioned that to you because of that super chat that the Communist Party of China must be destroyed. I absolutely agree. And if the Falun Gong and their newspaper, the Epoch Times, and their TV station, NTD TV, are a force for accomplishing that, I say good. Yeah, they have this beautiful operatic ballet dance style. They call it Shen Yun. I've been 3 times. If you like fancy dance, as I call it, and singing, most of it's in Chinese, but it's translated, there's super titles. If you like that sort of thing, you will love Shen Yun. Now, they're not on tour right now because of the virus. How can you criticize that? Where's the... I don't know. I like Jay Jack. I wish he would come work for Rebel. Let me read some more super chats here. Jose Sanzana. Hi, Ezra. I was brought to Canada after being tortured in the Augusto Pinochet regime. Canada's headed the same way. Your heads are stuck in a bucket of maple syrup. Wake up before it's too late. Well, I'm very sorry to hear about that, but I appreciate the fact that you were bringing a caution with you. In fact, it's my observation that people who come to Canada from less free places are often more attentive and alert to the diminution of our freedoms than our native-born Canadians. I find that particularly from people from Eastern Europe, the more recently liberated countries. From Polish people, for example, are very much alert to the risk of losing liberty because they were only set free 30 years ago from the Berlin Wall. I find Eastern Europeans these days are very alert to those things. And I mean, there are different Russian Canadian populations, but a fair chunk of them know how bad it is, and so they have their spider senses are tingling. Bruiser Battersby, $20. Do you think any Conservative leadership candidates have what it takes to beat Trudeau in the federal election? And if elected, do you think any of them would actually take a tougher stance against China and put Canadians first? I think there are 4 candidates who are accredited to run in the Conservative leadership: Peter MacKay, Aaron O'Toole, Derek Sloan, and Leslyn Lewis. They disqualified Jim Carahalios. They disqualified Richard DeCarey without even letting the people choose. I think that the 2 most likely winners of the contest are Peter MacKay and Aaron O'Toole. I don't think that's a surprise to say. I think both of them have been firmer on China than the Liberals, and frankly, it's a very, very easy thing to do. Can you grab me in our final moments the Angus Reid poll on China? Angus Reid came out with a poll on China. Pew Research came out with a poll on China. Let me take you out of suspense. Canadians are very hostile towards China. It wasn't too long ago where Canadians had a very favorable view of China. Here, yeah, let's look at some of these charts there. The first one tells it all. Percentage of Canadians holding a favorable view of China, 14%. It was 29% last year. That's after the hostage taking. It's fallen in half since then. Just 2 years ago, it was almost 50%. Yeah, scroll down. Let's get through 1 or 2 more little, just keep going. What's this? Percentage of favorable view of China. We just looked at that. Favorable or unfavorable view of each country. So only Saudi Arabia is hated more. Keep going. Favorable versus unfavorable. Look at that. It's just so lopsided. This is by province. This is by political party. So look at Conservatives there. 1% of Canadian Conservatives are very favorable. But it's no different for the other parties. Look at that. Liberals, 1%. NDP, 2%. So no one in Canada is very favorable. The mostly favorable, it's really low for everybody. Conservatives are the harshest, but there is no group of Canadians that actually is favorable net to China, not even close. Yeah, scroll down a tiny bit more. Agree or disagree, the Chinese government has been transparent and honest about the COVID-19 situation. 53% say very strongly disagree. 32% say strong or just disagree. You add those together, that's 85% say China's been lying. I mean, holy macaroni. I won't go through the whole thing. I really recommend this poll. It's just a real eye-opener. And the reason I tell you that is because I really think that this is one of those issues where the political elite is so far away from the people. And it's such a no-brainer that maybe even a conservative politician has the brains to pick it up. Now, you'd think. But of course, the only other poll that's as similarly lopsided as this is, do you want immigration numbers to increase? Also 80% plus against it. Conservatives are too cowardly to touch that. But maybe conservatives, either McKay or O'Toole, would have the courage on this. But not much else courage, I regret. Mark Gallicano, $5. Thank you very much. And let me just see. Kane Enmark, $5. Thanks for Battleground Show in the Rebel News. Keenan is my favorite Rebel reporter. Sheila is my number 2. And you're my number 3. Laugh out loud. Have a good one. Well, thank you, Kane. We are definitely a team. The name of the company is Rebel News Network, not Ezra Levant. And we try to let our talent develop their personality and their following. And I think they really have. And if you look at our roster, Rahil Raza has recently joined us, and we've had some new voices. Andrew Chapados has done some videos for us, and we're working with another talent to get his first video out. So I really believe in letting our talent express themselves with their voice in their own way and build up their own following. So I'm glad you like it. All right, well, my clock says it's 1 p.m. I got to go. Let me leave you with a dog video. Was this user submitted? That's always risky. So I'll say goodbye now, folks, but let's end with a dog video because we believe the dog videos make us between 5% and 38% happier on any given day. Take a look.
What's the matter, Curb? Do you need a placemat for your breakfast? Huh? Okay, let's do that then. Here we go.